This is an old story from back when dolphin rings, those little rings shaped like a dolphin biting its own tail, were all the rage. At the time, I was just a little kid in elementary school. I have a sister who's 10 years older than me. Back then, she was what you'd call a giru, or even a DQN. Giru is a Japanese fashion subculture known for bleached hair, heavy makeup, and a rebellious party girl attitude. DQN is a Japanese slang for white trash or delinquents, people who are loud, antisocial, or act like low-level thugs. As soon as summer vacation hit, she'd bring her group of shady-looking friends over almost every night, which led to constant screaming matches with our parents. Among her friends, there were two who visited especially often, a guy named Akira, who clearly hated kids, and a very kind girl named Baba-san. Akira would get terrifyingly angry if I even went near my sister's room. He'd yell things like, "Beat it, kid! Don't hang around here!" Whenever he did that, Baba-san and the others would always stick up for me. "Come on, Akira, she's just a kid," they'd say. Baba-san would turn to me and say, "Haru-chan, you wanted to play too, didn't you?" She'd give me sweets and let me come into the room. Honestly, I couldn't stand Akira. He stayed overnight at our house all the time, but he was never once nice to me. If I approached the room, he'd click his tongue at me to scare me away. Even if we crossed paths on the street, he'd bark, "What are you staring at?" I was scared to death of him, but I adored Baba-san. She was the total opposite of Akira. She'd bring me fireworks or candy, defend me from Akira, and always call out to me if she saw me in town. I didn't have many friends, and she knew how lonely I was, so she played with me often. Her favorite thing to say was, "Oh, Haru-chan, I wish you were my real little sister." One day, as that chaotic summer break, a truly dark chapter in our family history, was coming to an end, Akira suddenly gave me that dolphin ring. He didn't even go to see my sister. He just poked his head into my room and tossed a box wrapped in pink paper at me. "Here, take it," he grunted. It wasn't my birthday or a holiday, so it felt strange. But I was so lonely that I immediately thought, finally, I've made friends with this big brother. It was a very trendy item back then. The ring was way too big for me. It would slip even off my thumb. But I was so happy that I fell asleep that night, clutching it tight in my fist. In the middle of the night, I woke up because my hand felt like it was on fire. The ring Akira gave me had turned scorching hot as if it were sitting in a furnace. Half asleep and burning, I burst into tears, thinking my gift was ruined. But nobody came to check on me. It was the middle of the night, which made sense, but my mother, who usually slept in the room next to mine, wasn't there either. That's when I got really scared. By then, the ring had cooled down. Still clutching it, I walked into the living room where the lights were on. My parents were sitting there, their faces completely white. "Your sister was in an accident," they said. I only remember the rest in flashes. My sister and her friends had taken their motorcycles into the mountains, and on the way back, they were involved in a massive pileup. Over the phone, her condition wasn't clear, but they said it was critical. Despite this, my parents just sat there. They weren't even trying to go to the hospital. I started panicking. "Big sister might die. We have to go," I screamed through my tears. But they sat like statues. Desperate, I shouted that I'd go by myself and ran for the door in my pajamas. But my father blocked the way with his entire body. He literally pinned himself against the door to keep me inside. It was so abnormal that I started sobbing from pure terror. My mom tried to calm me down. "Haru-chan, go back to your room, okay? Please, please." But her face didn't look sad. It looked deathly afraid. Looking at this madness, I suddenly went cold and calm, realizing something is wrong here. Then I noticed my parents were already dressed in outdoor clothes. In that exact second, the doorbell rang. From behind the door came Baba-san's voice. "Haru-chan, I've come to get you. Let's go see your sister." I yelled to my parents, Baba-san is here for me. Let's go! But my parents began to shake, their faces turning a sickly, ghostly pale. Mom pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe, and Dad started muttering something under his breath. The situation was beyond reality. Thinking my parents had lost their minds, I started screaming for Baba-san to help me. Baba-san, I'm scared. Sister is dying. Mom and Dad are acting weird. Baba-san! Baba-san! But Baba-san didn't try to help. She just stood behind the door, repeating the same thing over and over. Haru-chan, let's go to your sister. Her voice was disturbingly calm, almost happy. Haru-chan, let's go to your sister. Baba-san, help me, I cried. I don't know how long I screamed, but suddenly, Akira's ring turned boiling hot again. I tried to open my hand, but it was like I was paralyzed. My fingers were locked tight into a fist. My throat felt like it was being strangled. My voice started to fail until no sound came out, no matter how hard I tried to scream. My mom watched in horror as I silently gasped for air, but she kept holding me as I thrashed in panic. All the while, Baba-san's voice outside stayed cheerful, calling my name. When my voice finally returned as a raspy croak, words started pouring out of me. But they weren't my words. You're not my sister. I know everything. I don't have any friends because you bullied them and told them to stay away from me. All those sweets and fireworks, you stole them from the corner store. They make me sick. I hate you. You're not my sister. Leave. Don't you ever come near our house again. My whole family is right here. Don't you dare take me there. I was screaming this in a rough, rural dialect, sounding like some kind of street thug. The thing is, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know she had driven away my friends, or that the gifts were stolen. The realization of what was happening was too much, and I blacked out into the darkness. I woke up the next morning. My mom's eyes were swollen from crying, and my dad looked like he had aged years in one night. The hospital called, they said. Your sister only broke her leg. We'll go visit her this afternoon. Then my father added something I didn't understand at the time. Make sure you thank Akira-kun, and keep that ring safe for the rest of your life. As you might have guessed, Baba-san died in that accident. In fact, she died before the hospital ever called my parents. She likely died instantly. Despite that, when my parents were about to leave for the hospital the night before, they saw Baba-san through the frosted glass of the front door. They knew she had been with my sister. If she was standing there looking perfectly fine, it meant something irreversible had happened. Paralyzed by fear, they couldn't leave the house while the voice outside kept insisting, I've come for Haru-chan. Open up. At that moment, Akira was also unconscious and in critical condition. When he finally woke up and was strong enough for visitors, he told us the truth through tears, struggling to speak. It turned out Baba-san was obsessively fixated on me. She would constantly say things like, Haru-chan is like my little sister. I want her to be mine, and she's only mine. I won't let her be friends with anyone else. She purposefully stole those treats for me to make me dependent on her. Akira saw what was happening. He didn't know how else to protect me, so he tried to scare me away with his yelling. He gave me the ring because he hoped that if I had a trendy, cool item, I'd find friends my own age and stop relying on Baba-san. More than 15 years have passed since then. Every summer, I don't return to my childhood home until the Oban festival is over. My sister and parents say that Baba-san never gave up on the idea of taking me. In the summer, even when it's not hot outside, the ring sometimes becomes scorching to the touch, and strange things happen. But that's another story. My parents only saw her that one night, but my sister, who got married and lives in our old house, says she sees her every single year. Over the years, her appearance has changed. Lately, she doesn't even look human anymore. My sister says she looks like a massive dog, but she always shows up on the final night of Oban. We've had several exorcisms performed, but she always comes back. I don't have the sight for spirits, except for my connection to Baba San, but my sister is sensitive to these things. My family actually sent me away to live with my paternal aunt right after I finished elementary school. This is, unfortunately, a true story. And one more thing. Recently, I called my sister and worked up the courage to ask more about Akira and Baba. She clearly hated the topic, but she answered one question. Why did our parents tell me to thank Akira after I, or whatever took over me, screamed out all of Baba's secrets? My sister said, Akira had a very specific way of talking. It was our local dialect, but with these very unique turns of phrase. When I started screaming in that exact voice, using those exact words, my parents knew immediately who was speaking through me. I had bragged to them earlier that evening about the ring he gave me, so they put the pieces together. I also found out that everyone in my family, my parents, my sister, my younger siblings, has the ability to see or attract entities. Everyone except me. When I asked my sister why I was different, she said, Haru, you saw everything when you were a kid. But when I started my rebel phase and started bringing all that trash home, you must have unconsciously closed yourself off. You just slammed the door on that part of your mind so you wouldn't go insane. I don't know if you can really just shut the lid on your senses like that. But the fact remains, I have a weird habit of stumbling upon dead bodies in real life. Yet nothing supernatural ever happens to me. Except, of course, for the ring turning red hot every year during Oban, Baba San's time.